Hey everybody, welcome back to the shack. So today I want to answer the age-old question of how do you get software onto old computers? Well, today we're going to do that. I'm going to do two parts to this. The first part here is going to be doing it for a PC, and then I'm going to do another one that shows how you do it on a Mac. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, so what we have here is, to be quite frank, the biggest piece of crap that you can find. But it's something I had laying around, so I use it. This is an HP Pavilion Ze 1110 laptop from, I want to say, around 2000? 2001? I'm not exactly sure when it was made. It's like the bottom of the barrel laptop that you could buy. Yeah, even by those specs it sucks. But for our purposes, it'll work fine. So, what's so great about this machine? Well, first of all, it's a piece of junk. So if I do something to it, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But it has all the features I want. So, on the back, okay, we have USB ports. Now, these are only USB 1.1. So, they're slow. Like, really slow. So, for data transfer, not so great. But we'll get to that. We have a VGA port. Not really useful for our purposes, but, it could be useful if you need it. It does have a parallel port. That's important. Okay. On this side, we have a DVD-ROM drive. Not a big selling point, but useful, especially if you were reloading Windows on this thing. This big hole is where the battery goes. This computer won't even work with the battery installed because the battery is so shorted out. And here's the crowning jewel of this machine. It has a modem. No, that's not it. It has a 3.5-inch floppy drive. A real 3.5-inch floppy drive, not a USB drive. This is important because if you want to write any format besides your standard 1.4 meg disk, this includes PC 720K, DMF, XDF, or any other special formats used by any companies, you need a real floppy drive. USB floppy drives do not work with special formats. They only work with 1.44 meg disk, nothing else. So if you put a 720K, or if you're working with a Mac, an 800K disk in one of those drives, it won't work. You're going to destroy the disk by trying it. So, not recommended. So that's why this machine is so important. This was a machine that at the time still had both a CD or optical drive. It has a fairly decent sized hard drive. It has USB and a floppy. So it makes it extremely useful. To make it even better, this one has it only has one. It has one single PC card or card bus slot. Okay? Now that's important for the simple fact that this machine has no Wi-Fi, it has no Ethernet. It strictly has a modem, which in 2020, it's been useless for about the last 10 years. So I'll show you two extra tools that I have the option for using on this machine, which is why I like this machine, even though it is a piece of junk. So the first one is I have an AdaptDeck Duo Connect. Okay, this is awesome because this gives me not only USB 2.0, which significantly increases transfer speeds off of USB drives, it also gives me FireWire 400. Okay, So I can hook FireWire drives up to this adapter. I don't currently have FireWire drive for PC, but you never know what might happen in the future. The main thing I use it for is for the USB 2. Believe me, it makes a big, humongous difference. 400 some megs over 12 megs a second, yeah, you'll want one. The other tool I use, and I use this very sparingly, because this machine runs Windows XP and DOS. I actually have a copy of DOS on this machine too. Is I do have an old Linksys Wireless G PC card or card bus adapter. Now this only works on PCs. These do not work on Macs at all. So this is strictly for the PC. Now the Adaptec card will actually work on a Mac. So keep that in mind if you have an older PowerBook that only has USB 1. So this I use only in the real rare chance that I need to get on the internet. So I actually have a specific network in my house specifically for wireless B and wireless G adapters, because they only use WEP for their encryption instead of WPA. Or no, I'm sorry. We use WEP now. These use I don't know. But either way, the encryption protocol these old cards use is not supported by today's routers. So, which is good because it's way out of date. So, and hooking this up to the internet is just opening. It could possibly open a can of worms. Just an FYI. So, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the computer, and the last item that's a big help is I have this backpack hard drive. Now this is a very old model. This is actually, I think, one of the first models. This is a 430 megabyte external IDE hard drive. It actually still has the original hard drive in it, and believe it or not, it's a Connor of all things, and it works perfectly, and it's fast for a parallel port drive. I got this with my IBM PS2, my model 70, P70, and I'll tell you what, it has been instrumental in making that machine sing, because the 60 meg hard drive in that thing is way too small for anything useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook the backpack drive up to the HP, and we're going to get it all set up, and we're going to boot it up here. And I'll show you exactly the tools that I use. There's very few, you know. I'm a, you know, one thing does it all sort of guy. So I'll show you what I use and what we do. Alright, so we got the whole machine all set up. So just in case anybody's wondering, okay, this machine, as I said, it's an HP Pavilion Ze. It's in Z Edward 1110. I think it was released in like 99, 2000-ish, maybe 2001, somewhere in that very general area. It definitely shows its age. It has a square screen. It has a very small trackpad, and it still has physical buttons, and that's about it. There's nothing really fancy with this machine. And it does have these stupid internet keys up here that for some reason all these computers came with. Now, this computer did come with Windows XP, so actually it would be 2001 at least. Because Windows XP came out in 2001. So this machine would be at least 2001 or 2002. Okay, for those of you wondering about the specifications of this hunk of junk, it's a Duron 1000, which is 1 gigahertz. It has 256 megs of RAM and a 20 gigabyte hard drive. Believe me, it's nothing to write home about, but it serves its purpose. So what we're going to do is we're going to boot it up here, and I'm going to show you exactly how I have the machine set up. And this isn't even running off its original power adapter. So as you see here, we have both Windows XP and PC DOS, okay? And I did this for one reason, simply because I wanted to, first of all, but second of all, it gives me a DOS laptop to fart around with. Now the problem is the computer's made for Windows. There are no drivers available for things like the sound. the USB works with keyboards and mice, but it won't work with like drives or anything like that. Only for the simple fact that the computer itself is basically converting the USB signals from the keyboard and the mouse into something that DOS recognizes, like a PS2 format or something. So we can load DOS, and this has DOS 6.3 on it, IBM DOS 6.3. And I do that. It was so fast because this thing boosts DOS like nothing. But I do have the drivers for the backpack hard drive. So as you see, we can go in, and the D drive here is the backpack hard drive. Okay. Now I actually have this set up with a copy of DOS on it for the simple fact that the IBM Model 50Z that I have has a bad internal hard drive, and being a direct bus attachment hard drive, they're very hard to replace. So, zoom in a little bit here on the DOS shell. And as you can see, because this laptop doesn't scale, everything's tiny right in the middle of the screen, and it's really kind of silly, but I mean, it does work. So, but I just wanted to show you that, you can run DOS on this. So, and, it's not terribly great, but, you can do it. So, we're going to give it the 3-finger salute, and we're going to reboot into Windows. And then you'll see exactly how slow this computer really is, because it's not fast at all. And I'm using an IBM ThinkPad charger on this. And yes, it farts at you every time you boot it up. I have no idea why. Oh yes, Windows product activation. You must love that. And of course, since, you can't do it over the internet anymore, you have to call. So as you see, we're running Windows XP Home Edition. It's just what I had laying around. So now we're going to get all kinds of notices down here, naturally. It actually recognized the Apple extended USB keyboard. I am impressed. So yeah, Apple extended USB keyboard. That's pretty cool. I hooked a USB keyboard. I have an Apple Pro keyboard. I just hooked up just for the hell of it, so that I didn't have to be reaching in front of the camera to type on the keyboard if I needed to. So amazingly, it's actually keeping, at least to date, the time's off by now. Well, then again, I haven't used this for a while, so we're going to go into the properties here real quick. I'm just going to show you the quick system properties. Okay, so as you see, it is running Windows XP Home Edition, Service Pack 2, as in mobile AMD Duron at 999 megahertz. So it doesn't even quite hit a gigahertz at 240 megs of RAM. So, which means it has 256 megs. It's using some of it for the video, which I think is stupid. But anyway, that's what it is. So, I really only use two. Oh my God, this Windows crap. This is why I quit using Windows. So there's only two real things I use. I use WinImage and I use WinZip. So now, unfortunately, being a Windows XP machine, you have to use older versions because newer versions obviously won't work. So I think this is WinImage 10 or 8. Or WinZip, I'm sorry. WinZip 10, okay. So this is from 2005, so this is period correct for this machine. And WinZip is still made today. I don't know why they still make it. It's pretty useless because Windows in general handles most zip files on its own. But there are some file types that you download off the internet that aren't supported by Windows, especially Windows XP. Now, new versions of Windows handle most of those files natively without issues. So, but I have that on there just for that reason. Typically, I just use the built-in zip file handling in Windows because it's actually pretty good. So, and then the next thing is WinImage. So, and both of these are free to try, as they say. So, both of these programs will actually continue to work after their evaluation period. So, what we're going to do is we're going to insert the Duo Connect card, and now I've obviously used this card on this computer, so it doesn't really need to load any drivers. You just have to give it a second to initialize itself. And then we're going to use this funky little flash drive. I don't even remember where I got these. I got a couple of these things. I think I might have bought them from Amazon or something. They cost me like $5 a piece or something. This one's a 16 gig, which ironically is only 4 gigs smaller than the actual internal hard drive of this thing, and it's probably 10 times faster. So we're going to plug that into the Duo Connect, and then we're going to open this disk. And I have all kinds of stuff on here. I've got drivers on here for this laptop, the little Dell Mini laptop that I have. I think I even have, I don't have it on here, but I even have one I have a Panasonic Toughbook, which I'm going to show you that one as well. That's not the best bridge machine, but it does work in a pinch. So, but what we do have on here, we have a bunch of DOS stuff. So, now what we can do is we can either copy it to the backpack, or we can put it on floppy disk. Now, the main reason for doing this is to make floppy disks. So we're going to take a floppy disk, and we're going to take a pretty blue one. Ooh, pretty. It's brand new too. So, and we're going to find something here. It's going to well, let's go to games once. Alright, now I'm trying to remember what oh, okay. Okay, so what I did is I loaded up I have an FDD file here, which is just a floppy disk image of the Windows 98 second edition boot disk. Okay, so what I did is I loaded this up, and this loads in WinImage. Okay, so what this is an exact image of the disk. So I put the floppy disk in, and all I gotta do is click here. Whoops, not there. There. And it will automatically write an exact copy of this disk to the floppy drive. Now, this isn't for this kind of a thing. This is kind of important on a PC, because unlike on Macs, you have to have a special boot sector in order for the computer to boot. It reads the very first sector of the disk, which basically has 2 files on it. They're less than 8K, and it needs those files to boot the computer. Macs don't suffer from this problem. Basically, you can just copy a system folder over, bless it, and it's ready. So, this is useful. Now, where WinImage is really useful is when you're working with, especially with Microsoft Windows discs and stuff like that that come in a DMF format, those are 1.6 megabytes. They use a funky compression scheme, and I think they changed the sectors around a little bit to make the disk 1.6 megabytes. The drive reads it like it's a normal 1.4 meg disk, but you can't just copy files onto the disk. You can't copy 1.6 megs of files onto a 1.44 meg floppy. So that's where WinImage really comes in handy. Now for boot disk, you can't use it for boot disks. Boot disks have to be 1.44 megabytes. So, and then now we have an exact copy of the Windows 98 boot disk. This is the Windows 98 boot disk. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to verify that it works. Okay? And I know it does, because this isn't the first time I've written one of these. But we're going to do it anyway. So we're just going to restart. And you can hear all the wonderful Windows XP sounds. It's just so nostalgic. For a machine like this, Windows XP is very ideal. It handles zip files. It's very plug and play. It's based on Windows NT and as stable as can be. So, and the computer automatically will boot from a floppy drive. So, as you see, it says booting from a removable media. So, and let's try starting with Cd-Rom support just to see if it works. It should. I mean, it's just a regular Cd-Rom drive. Yep. And right now it's searching for SCSI cards, which I don't have any installed. I do have a SCSI card for a PC card, but it's not installed right now. So, it does this stupid thing for SCSI CD-ROM drives. So, there we go. As you see, we're booted into Windows 98. Technically, it's Windows 98. Windows 98 still runs on top of DOS, more or less. So, we can go to the D drive. Whoops, I'm sorry, not the D. C drive. And there we go. We just load up the DOS shell. So, you know, it still does. So that's why I use this particular machine. The USB, the floppy, and not so much, but the CD-ROM drive is very useful. The best features this machine has is the fact that it has USB and a real floppy drive. That's very important. If you're working with anything less than... Are you kidding me? So that's what makes this machine an ideal machine. USB, floppy drive, not so much best features, but nice to have would be the DVD-ROM drive, and just in case you have old optical media, and the PC card slot on the side. So at least you have USB 2, and like I have FireWire as well. So, but the floppy drive is a must-have for a bridge machine on anything really, because the USB floppy drives, while they're nice and they're convenient, they will only work with 1.4 meg floppies. So if you're working with older computers, this will not work. So the next episode I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I do on Macs to bridge the divide. Now on a Mac, it's harder because there aren't any computers with USB and floppy drives, unfortunately. So, but we'll get into that when we do the next episode. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Don't forget I have a Patreon if you feel like throwing me a buck. And have a wonderful day.